Hello again, this is Victor James, author of the Megacosm, and before anyone scolds me in the comments, I hope you notice that question mark in the title, because I am still not so sure that Coming Home arc is overrated or the hatred is completely justified. I feel like with the latest Spider-Man trailer, they are taking aspects from the other storyline, but you can't have the other storyline without talking about Coming Home first. And there are aspects of Coming Home that I like John Romita Jr.'s art, and I'm usually not a fan of his art style, but he knocked it out of the park in these issues. And there are many things I really dislike, but does the good outweigh the bad? Let's discuss. So to those who may have forgotten, or honestly probably chose to forget, Coming Home was written by John Michael Straczynski, who I will call JMS going forward, who created one of Spider-Man's most controversial storylines, until he did that other one. One of the things I liked about Coming Home was that it was a return to form, in the sense that Peter Parker was more down on his luck, which honestly is normal Peter Parker to me. Life wasn't going too good for Peter, and he lamented the events that led to his fate thus far and began to reminisce, which led him on a tour of his past. And this led him to Ezekiel, and honestly I didn't mind Ezekiel. Someone else not calling himself Spider-Man with spider-type powers wasn't something I found offensive at the time. That trope has been done to death by now, but Ezekiel at the time was new and mysterious, which I really didn't mind. And Ezekiel talked to Peter like he knew him, and served as a mentor of sorts, which Peter really hadn't had in a while, and he actually makes more sense than someone like Tony Stark. Plus, I love Morlun. Morlun was a psychic vampire who was incredibly strong, durable, fast, agile, and could absorb a person's life force. Say what you want about JMS, but he knows how to make scary villains. JMS knows how to convey psychopathy, hatred, and cruelty in his villains, such as he did with Redstone in his Squadron Supreme run, who was an absolute menace. But more on him in a later video. Morlun is drawn to Peter for a dumb reason, but man do I like the fights between the two. The fights against Morlun were intense, as he was one of the strongest enemies Peter has ever fought. And like I said, Morlun was relentless, even telling Peter how the fight would go, that he would not stop, Peter would go on the run, he would chase, wearing Peter down until he was beaten, Morlun would take his life then. It was nothing personal though, and the battle plays out just like he says, as Peter gives him everything he has, but to no avail. But I like that Peter's able to display his heroism several times, as Morlun uses innocent people to lure Peter into battle. Peter is being beaten to a pulp, but he still puts his life on the line to save them. And I appreciate that Peter is able to display his trademark resiliency during the fight. He never gave up, or never let the fight to someone else. He didn't web over to the Baxter building or beg Dr. Strange for aid, even though he could have. He did try and hide for a moment to get a breather, but when he was found again, Peter took the fight to Morlun even though he was way out of his league, reminding me of that time he took on the Juggernaut. Peter is known to persevere even when he is out of his league, which is one of the aspects that draws people to Spider-Man. Peter even takes the time to call Aunt May when he feels he might die during this battle. To me, this really was a great example of Peter that I knew and liked. Witty, heroic, resilient, and caring, with his final thoughts being about his family. But now to the things I didn't like about Coming Home. And let's return to Ezekiel. I said I didn't mind another person with spider powers, but once Ezekiel's mystery was revealed, I liked him a lot less. Ezekiel was a narrator voice that introduced the awful totem idea. Totems were basically animal spirits that inhabited current heroes and villains throughout time. Some were pure, like Peter, who was a spider totem, and others representative of their totems. Ezekiel tries to explain why Spider-Man fights so many animal-themed villains like Vulture, Rhino, Scorpion, Black Tarantula, Doc Ock, Lizard, and even Kraven, amongst others. All of these animal villains were pretenders, drawn to battle Peter because he was the real totem. Now, I get trying a new idea, but honestly no one liked totems because it diminished Peter's uniqueness. Instead of just being an everyman who was bitten by a radioactive spider, now he was in a line of people with spider powers. The reimagined origin speculated that the spider just brought out the spider powers that were already laying dormant within Peter. This run actually questions Peter's origins a lot, even poking fun at his famous line. But there is a reason why this is not Peter's true origin and didn't stick, unlike that other change JMS made. It just took too much away from Peter and was quickly forgotten. And to wrap up the Coming Home storyline, it ended with a bombshell, with Aunt May finally finding out Peter was Spider-Man. So JMS and Coming Home truly shook up the Spider-Man mythos. So there were some things I liked and things I really didn't like about the short arc. I believe if you like great villains, heroics, and true Peter Parker, and a great fight, then Coming Home actually fills those needs. But I truly understand people not liking the animal totem idea. It was new, yes, and I appreciate the effort, but it fell flat for most people. Honestly, you could have used his origin on one of his villains instead. Say you made Scorpion a pure totem, and made him a stronger villain by giving him true Scorpion powers instead of making him Venom. It would have landed a lot better, I think. I would have loved seeing a lineage of scorpions or lion totems to explain Scorpion and Kraven and have even more powerful animal villains. But in the end, spoiler alert for those who haven't read it, Peter actually outsmarts Moreland, poisoning himself to weaken the villain when he tries to take his life. And this sacrifice led to the other storyline, which is even more controversial. I will be interested to see if the next Spider-Man movie actually pulls from the other storyline, and if they can actually improve upon it, because fans really did not like that story when it came out. But for now, I would say Coming Home is slightly underrated, just compared to what Spider-Man is now, where you have writers actually begging readers to return to a Spider-Man book. Can you believe that? That's unbelievable. But what do you think? Did you like Coming Home? Or was the totem idea just too far to truly like these issues? Let me know in the comments below. A special shout out to my new subscribers, and I invite you to read my first book, Fiasco Adventures, available on Amazon. This is a great book and it's doing very well. And I also invite you to read my novelette, The Mark, which is also available on Amazon. And I also have a website, themegacosm.com, where you can buy the books and you can read some of my short stories for free and read some of my articles I do for bleedyfool.com. But thanks again, thanks for watching, God bless you and keep you. That's it, I'm done.